Hey everyone, my name's Adam James and I'm the founder of a pre-seed startup called Kin. We're a search engine for social conversations. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're working on, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and future. I'd also like to thank Dgraph for the invitation to present today. I've got about 20 minutes. And so what I'll do, I'll quickly run you through my story, a bit more about Kin and what Kin currently looks like, where we're at in the startup process. I'll run you through a customer case study. And then we can go quickly through or briefly through the Kin stack at a high level. And more specifically, how we use Dgraph with Kin and the benefits that Dgraph provides for early stage startups such as Kin. So first, nice photo of me. Let's talk a little bit more about my story. I'm a 3-time founder, reformed quant, PhD dropout. I'm very contrarian how I think, and I definitely default to doing things instead of actually thinking them through. So I first became interested in machine learning when I left high school 20 years ago. I taught myself C++ and built my first machine learning algorithm to beat a casino game, believe it or not. Then I went on to apply machine learning across a range of quantitative finance problems, including developing the strategy for a $1 billion fund. Over my career, I've founded 3 startups, as I said before. My first startup focused on developing and commercializing an algo trading strategy. Then I left quantitative finance and I partnered with my wife in setting up an e-commerce store, and I couldn't help myself. I used a lot of, or tried to implement a lot of machine learning features with that. A bit of overkill, I think. And now Nadia runs that without me. And Kin is my third startup. Now, before we talk a bit more about Kin, I want to ask a question, which is, how do brands create more meaningful connections with their audience? And I guess more importantly, why should you care about that? Well, something I've learned as a founder is that building products is pretty easy. Choosing a problem worth solving is a little bit more difficult, but still relatively easy. However, earning the trust of a market is extremely difficult. So this is the real hard thing about startup, is building the market. So if you're an early stage founder, then you would probably be familiar with the term product market fit. Now, founders tend to focus on the product side of that instead of the market side of that. They tend to neglect the market a little bit. So if if there's one tip that I can give you about startup, is if you want to actually give yourself the best chances of success as startup, the easiest way is to start by building a very supportive community from which you can actually launch your product upon. So this answers the why you should care, but we're still left with how do brands create meaningful connections with their audience. And like many startups, Kin actually began exploring a different problem in a different market. It took a lot longer than I would have hoped to actually gain the insights from that market for me to pivot away to tackle a different problem, which is essentially the problem that 90% of startups face, which is how to find, empathize, and connect with customers. Okay, so what is Kin anyway? Well, in a sentence, Kin is a search engine for conversations happening across digital communities and social media. We recently launched our MVP, which is experimenting with conversational search across Reddit. Using that, you can go to kin.so and search for broad topics. Then from the word cloud that's presented, you can drill down into specific subtopics and then see the related statements and questions that are happening around those or that relate to those subtopics. And why this is really cool is because it allows you to basically gather all those insights that you need to understand the context of a customer's problem instead of having to go and talk to them all. So in startup, that's really, really useful. So we can get a better understanding of the pain points of our audience, as well as the language that they're using to talk about those pain points, which essentially helps us to create content calendars that align with those pain points and also build rapport by matching the same language that our customers are using. And then we can insert those pieces of content or links to that content into the discussion. So we're adding value to the conversation of the audience or the users within their audience, and they end up in our sales funnel, which is great for them. It's great for the startup. So what I want to do is take you through a case study of one of our early customers, which is the Profile Laundry. And the Profile Laundry, what they do is provide advice and tips on how to improve your dating app profiles to get more matches. So let's jump over to the kin.so website, and we're simply going to type in dating apps. Right, kin. We can see all these phrases that are presented. And all of these phrases are related to dating apps and conversations that are happening around dating apps. So we've got discussions on photos, grooming. This one looks to be how to get more matches on dating apps. Maybe openers, so how to actually open a discussion on a dating app. So let's grab one. Let's have a look at more matches. So I click on more matches, and I get taken to the conversations that are actually happening that relate to how to actually get more matches. So we can see, no more matches. Is it really my profile, or is it due to something that's happening on Tinder? So if I was the Profile Laundry, I could use these questions to start creating content that address those issues. So if people are asking about how dating apps or how the algorithms use and how the matching works, then we could create content around that. And then we could actually click on this particular conversation and share that piece of content directly into that discussion. That helps answer this person's question, as well as gets this user into the marketing funnel of the Profile Laundry. So we can scroll over. We're trying to maximize the number of matches, paying for boosts on Bumble and Hinge, and if it's really worth it. So if we're going through, we can start building up a profile of the different types of questions and the different language and the different, what's really important to the customers. And whenever those come up, we can actually click through and go back to the go to the actual conversation as it happens and share our content. So I'm just trying to find a decent one. Oh, that one's a big one. So this is interesting. This is exploring from a woman's perspective. No more matches. Is it really my profile? Oh, so that's the one that we saw before. I thought I saw one about photos before. So yeah. So let's see if we can jump out. Oh, here we go. So this is interesting. So if I want to offer a service around optimizing photos for dating apps, so I'd be looking for these types of conversations, and then I could go straight to that conversation on social and share my service. And what's really cool about this is that because we're adding value to the conversation, we're adding value to the community, and we're addressing these problems in a timely manner. So people who are having similar problems are able to see that content and how you help solve that problem, and you get a much greater amount of traffic or higher converting traffic by engaging in marketing this way. So if we recap, Kin makes the customer journey mapping, the message mapping or the message matching and the prospecting much easier. Like you can pre-qualify leads instead of doing broad-based top-of-funnel marketing across, Facebook and annoying people. And our test results, we got up to 10 times more leads for 30% of our test ad budget compared to some of social ads. So now that we've seen what Kin is, let's talk about how we actually built it. And we'll go through a little bit of the back end at a high level. Now, when I'm building a product like this, I want to make sure that I'm building something that can scale, right? So we want to avoid banking technical debt as much as we can. And when we roll stuff out to production, we want to make sure that it's actually something that we're not going to have to, ideally not have to change much in the future. That's not saying that we build an entire app as our MVP. That's definitely not the case. We incrementally build tech that's going to sustain us at scale. So how do we do this with Kin? So we used highly scalable, first-in-class infrastructure such as Kafka, Spark, and I'm happy to say Dgraph. How this works is that our data is ingested into our Kafka pipeline. It goes through a machine learning transformation pipeline that's orchestrated and performed in Spark. And then those features are connected to the original data and stored over in Dgraph as a graph. Now, let's quickly go into the Dgraph schema. And one of the reasons I really like Dgraph is because compared to SQL, something I've found in my past is that SQL type data gets quite tricky when you're handling complex relationships, especially complex relationships that are going to have to iterate. However, whereas Dgraph makes the design of a schema really easy, and you can iterate it as your understanding of the customer problem also evolves. So the kin schema is actually based on what's very similar to a schema that's outlined in one of Dgraph's online tutorials, being the message board app tutorial, which is available at this link. And so we essentially have these underlying entities, very much like what is presented in the tutorial. I actually got these images out of the Dgraph tutorial. So these are the nodes that are created in our schema. And these are the predicates that are stored or that are presented in this tutorial. And we use the majority of these in kin as well. Plus we have the predicates that are associated with the machine learning feature enrichment of the data. So what I really like is that this is a fairly simple schema, but Dgraph makes it really easy to do powerful and really fast search queries. And we can string them, we can string these together in a bit of a pipeline. So, one of my favorite features on Dgraph relates to searching, and it actually allows you to do partial matches on a broad matching phrase and still return it. So instead of doing exact match searching, you're able to search for substrings contained within a larger string and return those results. So that makes it much easier for doing machine learning or returning results that are associated with natural language processing. So why would I choose Dgraph again if I was to go back? 100%, definitely. The schema itself and being able to iterate that schema. So having that flexibility to iterate that schema very simply, where our understanding of the customer problem evolves, is invaluable. But not only that, because we're able to leverage Dgraph/service, so that's like Dgraph as a service, and combine that with GraphQL, we're able to build a MVP much faster than if we had to manage and administer the Dgraph cluster ourselves on our own Kubernetes cluster in our own cloud. Overall as well, Dgraph is a robust and scalable and blazing fast database that allows us to do semantic search, complex search, and utilize the latest, best-in-class graph-based machine learning. So 100%, I would definitely choose Dgraph again if I'm going to start another startup. So overall, what the benefits allow us to hand off the management of the database side of things to the Dgraph team, and that means that we can do what we're good at, which is focusing on building machine learning and a robust, scalable data architecture, so that we can help our customers connect better with the people that matter to them. So if you want to if you want to do some exploration on King, please jump on king.so and have a look at trying to connect with your customers. I'd really appreciate your feedback on how you think the app works, how it solves your problems, or what you think that you could use it for if you've got some interesting problems to solve. And generally your feedback around the usability of the UI. But otherwise, go ahead and grow your startups. Thank you very much for listening.